There is an extraordinary paradox that occurs when someone begins to awaken to the fundamental nature of existence. At the exact moment you see through the veil of illusion, certain things become absolutely impossible to be seen in the same way again. Innocence, once lost to truth, cannot be recovered by a simple act of will or desire. When we speak of awakened people, we are not referring to superhuman beings with halos or who speak in whispered tones. An awakened person is simply someone who has recognized the farce of separation. They have realized that the ego, that small island of consciousness we think we are, is merely a magnificent mental construction, an illusion that keeps us trapped in suffering. Many chosen ones feel that the world has lost its former shine, but in truth, it has gained a cutting clarity. You stop believing in concepts that once seemed solid, such as the absolute reality of your problems or the importance of your past. This process of unseeing is the first sign that your consciousness is finally returning home. Living in the awakened state means realizing that you are not a separate entity struggling against the universe, but the universe itself expressing through you. This shift in perspective changes the way you experience time, how you deal with emotions, and how you see other people. It is a cellular transformation that redefines what it means to be alive. I am George, and I am here to guide you through these perceptions that the awakened can no longer ignore. If you feel that you no longer fit into old narratives and seek to understand this new view of the world, follow our channel now. Join us on this deep journey to recognize the truth that has always been right before you. The first thing an awakened chosen one stops seeing is the absolute solidity of what we call problems. For the ordinary mind, a problem is an external entity, a hostile force that invades peace and needs to be destroyed. However, upon awakening, you realize that the problem does not lie in the fact itself, but in your resistance to the fact. Difficulties continue to arise in the life of one who has awakened. The difference is that they lose their psychological reality. Rain still wets the body, and bills continue to arrive in the mail, but the internal drama of suffering because of this disappears. The chosen one understands that a problem only exists when there is a separate ego opposing what is happening now. The moment you recognize that you are not an isolated entity fighting against the universe, situations dissolve into flows of pure action. If you feel pain, the body is simply processing a sensation. It does not think it has a problem. Conflict is born only when thought says, "This should not be happening to me right now." Imagine the ocean developing a neurosis because of its own waves, complaining that they rise and fall non-stop. It is a laughable idea, because the waves are what the ocean is doing. They are not something separate from it. In the same way, the awakened person sees their experiences not as external problems, but as the movement of life itself in action. When you stop labeling situations as bad or wrong, you gain immense clarity to respond to what life asks of you. The energy that was previously spent on complaining and anguish is now channeled into practical resolution. The problem becomes merely a circumstance that requires an appropriate response, without the weight of useless emotional suffering. This shift in perspective is liberating because it removes from you the role of victim of worldly circumstances. You begin to observe challenges as dynamic patterns that arise and disappear in the field of consciousness. The chosen one does not fight the current. They have learned to flow with it, transforming obstacles into stepping stones toward an even deeper understanding of the whole. The reality of problems is humanity's greatest prison, because it keeps the mind focused in a constant state of alert. By exposing this farce, the chosen one finds a peace that does not depend on favorable external circumstances. They discover that peace was already there, merely hidden beneath the pile of judgments they were making about present reality. The second thing that becomes invisible to the awakened person is the illusory importance we give to the past and the future. We were conditioned to believe that our existence is a straight line that goes from a dead point to a distant goal. We think of ourselves as characters in an epic biography, always carrying the weight of a story. Awakening reveals that this timeline is merely a mental abstraction, a construction that has no real substance outside of now. The chosen one directly perceives that the past is only a memory arising in this moment, and the future is an anticipation also occurring now. Literally, there is no real time beyond this present instant that unfolds eternally. When this truth penetrates the essence of your being, the weight of regret and anxiety about tomorrow simply dissipates. This does not mean that you become incapable of planning or of using memory in a functional way. On the contrary, you become much more efficient because your mind is no longer fragmented between what was and what will be. You use the clock to keep appointments, but you do not allow psychological time to govern your state of mind or your inner peace. The awakened person understands that happiness is never something to be achieved in a hypothetical future. If peace is not found in this exact moment, it will not be found anywhere, because the future never arrives. Many people spend their entire lives waiting for the moment when they will finally get there, without realizing that the there is a mirage. The chosen one stops chasing this shadow and begins to inhabit the eternal now with total intensity. They recognize that life is a continuous event, where the stage is always this vibrant present, full of possibilities. By ceasing to see the future as a refuge, you eliminate the greatest source of human stress: concern about what does not yet exist. The awakened person plans when planning is useful, but does not confuse these thoughts with reality. They live with the lightness of one who knows that the universe always provides what is necessary for the present moment. This new relationship with time transforms routine into a constant celebration of pure, simple existence. The past ceases to be an anchor, and the future ceases to be a mirage, allowing you to flourish where you are. The chosen one has discovered that the gateway to eternity is not at the end of life, but at the center of every second lived. The third thing that awakened chosen ones stop seeing is the imaginary barrier that separates the self from the other. The ordinary person lives in a state of chronic paranoia, perceiving the world as a hostile place and other people as competitors or threats. This fragmented view creates a painful division between the observer and what is being observed. Awakening reveals that the boundary between you and the rest of the universe is entirely fictitious and purely mental. When you pierce the veil, you recognize that the right hand does not see the left as an enemy, but as part of the same body. In the same way, the chosen one realizes that all beings are different processes within a single field of existence. This shift in perception erases the need for constant judgment and the incessant search for superiority over others. You can still distinguish the individual characteristics of each person, but at a deeper level, you recognize the same life pulsing in all. It is like seeing many different musical notes, yet understanding that they all belong to the same magnificent symphony of the Creator. The paranoia of the ego gives way to a natural empathy that arises from the direct understanding of the unity of all things. The awakened person can no longer see people as instruments to be used for selfish benefit. They see through social masks and defensive behaviors, connecting with the essence that is common to all humanity and to nature. Living without the illusion of separation brings immense freedom, because it removes the basic fear of being destroyed by the external world. If you are not a separate island, There is no reason to fear the ocean that surrounds you and sustains you. The chosen one walks among others with a peace that comes from knowing that they are, quite literally, at home everywhere. By no longer seeing us versus them, you become an agent of harmony without needing effort or moral rules. Compassion ceases to be a religious duty and becomes an obvious consequence of seeing yourself in the other. Awakening is the end of spiritual isolation and the beginning of a deep connection with total life. The fourth thing that disappears from the chosen one's vision is the illusion that the ego is in control of life. The ego thrives on the fantasy that it is the sovereign author of every action, the thinker of every thought, and the owner of decisions. But upon awakening, you realize that there is no little person inside the head pulling the levers of destiny. Thoughts arise spontaneously in consciousness. Decisions happen and actions occur without there being a central controller separate from the process. This realization can be terrifying for the ego because it means the death of its supposed authority over reality. However, for the chosen one, this is the most liberating and light discovery one can make. You realize that life happens by itself, just as breathing or the beating of your heart occur without your command. Trying to control every detail of existence is like trying to consciously organize every word and grammatical rule before you start speaking. If you try to control speech too much, you will end up stuttering. Life works in the same spontaneous and free way. Once the illusion of control is exposed, the chosen one can finally relax and surrender to the intelligent functioning of the universe. You stop fighting against the flow of events and begin to observe how life organizes itself perfectly without your constant interference. This does not create passivity, but rather a much more efficient action, aligned with present reality. Awakening reveals that you are an inseparable part of a cosmic process that moves with a wisdom the mind cannot grasp. By letting go of imaginary reins, you discover that you were never in command, but that you have always been carried by grace. The fear of choosing the wrong path disappears when you realize that the path and the one who walks it are one. This new perspective removes the stress of carrying the world on your shoulders and the burden of guilt over unexpected outcomes. The chosen one acts with total dedication, but without the weight of believing that success or failure defines their essence. You become a free channel through which life flows, without the barriers created by the neurotic need for domination and control. The fifth thing that the chosen ones stop seeing is the world as a collection of solid, static, and permanent objects. Common perception deceives us, making us believe that the universe is made of solid things, colliding with one another like billiard balls. But awakening reveals that the universe is not made of nouns, but of verbs and dynamic processes. When you look at a mountain, a tree, or another human being, the awakened mind no longer sees fixed and immutable forms. What you are actually witnessing is an incredibly complex and vibrant process, a constant whirlpool in the eternal current of existence. The mountain is not a motionless object. At the atomic and geological level, it is actively mountaining every second. The tree is not a static thing in the garden, but a continuous event of treeing, exchanging atoms with the soil and the air. Everything we perceive as solid is, in truth, a dynamic pattern of energy in constant transformation and rhythmic movement. The chosen one understands that nothing exists independently or permanently, but that everything is part of an infinite flow. This vision completely transforms the way we deal with life, removing the fear of loss and the disappearance of forms. If nothing is solid, there is nothing to cling to definitively or desperately in this physical world. Awakening reveals that everything we call mine is only a temporary configuration in the cosmic dance of creation. The Buddhist concept of emptiness does not mean that things do not exist, but that they are empty of a fixed existence. Nothing possesses an isolated identity that endures forever. Everything is an occurrence, an event that arises and dissolves in time. The chosen one learns to appreciate the beauty of forms without getting lost in the illusion that they are lasting. By no longer seeing the world as a collection of objects, you begin to feel life as an uninterrupted melody. Forms change, seasons pass, and bodies transform, but the process of life itself remains ever young and vibrant. You stop struggling to keep things as they are and begin to celebrate change. Living with this perception brings an indescribable lightness, because you recognize that you are part of this intelligent and renewing flow of consciousness. You are not a solid object in a cold world, but a pattern of light and movement in a living universe. Awakening is the transition from living in a museum of statues to dancing in an eternal symphony. The end of seriousness and the discovery of the cosmic joke. The sixth thing that becomes invisible to the awakened chosen one is the heavy, somber seriousness with which the world approaches life. Many people mistakenly believe that spiritual awakening must be something solemn, melancholic, and distant from joy or humor. However, true awakening is the discovery of the cosmic joke, the moment when you finally understand the game. The seriousness of the ego is the result of the illusion that we are separate beings, desperately struggling for survival, recognition, and power in a hostile world. When you realize that your individual self is merely a temporary mask of the divine, the foundation of all solemn worry collapses. You discover that the drama of existence is, in essence, a divine play known as Leela. One cannot take life with tragic seriousness when you see that your greatest problems are only passing ripples. The chosen one understands that nothing that happens at the level of form can increase or diminish their true spiritual essence. This perception brings an inner smile that does not depend on whether external circumstances are favorable or unfavorable at the moment. Understanding the cosmic joke does not mean becoming insensitive or irresponsible toward the suffering of others or the injustices of the present world. On the contrary, when you stop taking yourself seriously, you finally manage to take life seriously in the correct and balanced way. You can play the game of life with full intensity, knowing that the final outcome is secure. The weight of having to be someone or having to get somewhere is replaced by the joy of simply existing. You realize that the universe is not going anywhere. It is already there, expressing its fullness in every detail. Awakening is the laughter of the soul, discovering that what it searched for so desperately was never truly lost. This lightness transforms the way you relate to your mistakes and stumbles along the earthly journey. You learn to laugh at your own pretensions of control and at the blunders the ego makes while trying to be the center of attention. The chosen one walks the earth with feet firmly planted, but with a heart as light as a feather in the wind. Excessive seriousness is a barrier to true spirituality because it is based on the fear of losing something that is imaginary. By letting go of this burden, you open yourself to the spontaneity and celebration that are the true nature of consciousness. Awakening is the moment when you stop acting in the drama and begin to enjoy the dance. The seventh and deepest thing that the chosen one stops seeing is the very idea that there is spiritual progress to be achieved. This may seem paradoxical to those who have spent years meditating, studying, and seeking enlightenment as if it were a distant trophy. But awakening reveals that the spiritual seeker is like someone searching for glasses that are already resting on their forehead. In the ordinary state of consciousness, We live under the constant pressure that we need to get there, that we are not yet good enough or awakened enough. The chosen one, however, discovers that there is nowhere to go and nothing to attain that is not already fully available in this exact moment. Awakening is not a destination. It is the collapse of the illusion that you ever left home. When this perception stabilizes, the anxiety of trying to become spiritual or enlightened simply disappears from your worldview. You stop seeing yourself as an unfinished project of God and begin to see yourself as a perfect expression of life right now. This is liberation from the last and most subtle trap of the ego, the search for holiness. Another thing that becomes invisible to the awakened is the notion that suffering is something that should not exist in the human experience. Understand the subtlety. Pain is an inevitable biological fact for those who have a body, but suffering is an optional psychological addition. Suffering is born from mental resistance, from the ego's protest that claims the present moment is wrong. The chosen one stops seeing suffering as an enemy and begins to relax into life, even when it presents its most painful or challenging aspects. When you remove the layer of resistance, pain ceases to be suffering and becomes merely an intense sensation passing through consciousness. This deep relaxation transforms the entire quality of your daily experience. By no longer seeing life as a battle against suffering, you also stop seeing death as the opposite of life. Awakening reveals that the opposite of death is birth, but life itself has no opposites. It is the eternal foundation. You are not born into life. You are life itself, temporarily expressing through a form. This understanding dissolves the fear of annihilation, because you realize that death is merely the withdrawal of form back into its infinite source. The chosen one does not fear death any more than they fear deep sleep at the end of a long workday. They know that the essence remains, even when the particular pattern of body and mind dissolves. Furthermore, the idea of personal ownership becomes entirely invisible to those who have truly awakened to the fundamental nature of the universe. You stop seeing the world through the lenses of mine and yours, recognizing that you are merely a temporary guardian of experiences. Not even your thoughts or your body belong to you. They are rhythmic loans from nature. Living without the burden of possession allows you to walk lightly through existence, enjoying each object and relationship without the desperation of attachment. You care for things, love people, and enjoy pleasures, but you do not confuse them with your true identity. The chosen one is the one who has everything because they no longer have the need to possess anything. Finally, the victim mentality becomes absolutely impossible to maintain for a chosen one who has understood their unity with the whole. You stop seeing yourself as a separate being at the mercy of random external forces and begin to see yourself as the very process of life. Nothing happens to you. Everything happens through you and as an expression of you. This is ultimate spiritual sovereignty, recognizing that you are the dancer and the dance, the observer and the observed, the creator and the creature. When the illusion of being a victim dies, a sacred responsibility and a freedom are born that the world cannot give or take away. You finally stop fighting with the mirror and begin to live the truth. The chosen one who can no longer see these illusions gains, in return, an innocence far deeper and more unshakable than the first. It is the innocence of simply being what you are, without defenses, without masks, and without the neurotic need to be anything special. You become a clear channel through which the light of consciousness flows unobstructed into the world. By unmasking these structures that the ego created to maintain separation, you discover that the peace you were seeking was always beneath the noise. Awakening is the end of effort and the beginning of the continuous celebration of pure and simple existence, here and now. You are home. You have always been home. and the game has finally revealed its most beautiful face. Living in the awakened state is to walk through the world with an open heart, without the need for control, judgment, or the search for external meaning. You have discovered that life itself, in its vibrant simplicity, is the supreme meaning and the final celebration. There is nothing more to be done, only to be lived with total presence and gratitude. Now I really want to hear from you. Which of these illusions do you feel you have already begun to unsee in your own life? Is there any concept that once felt solid and now seems like just a passing cloud to you? Leave your comment below and share your experience with our community of chosen ones who are awakening together. Your participation is essential to strengthen others who are still in the middle of the storm, believing the waves are real problems. When you comment and share, you help illuminate the path for those seeking the same peace you found today. Don't forget to follow the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next gatherings. Thank you for having the courage to look beyond the veil with me and for allowing the truth to transform your perception of reality. Always remember, you are not becoming something new. You are simply remembering what you never stopped being. Live lightly, live with presence, and I'll see you at the next awakening of consciousness.